For November the 17th, 2017, we talk about EA's microtransaction woes, Lisa, the painful RPG, and we ask you about your favorite in-game creations. Welcome to Level 220. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
I'm Jala Prendes.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. That little hesitation there was because Ben is not here. He's out doing stuff for his birthday.
What are the rules even?
Ben. I don't even know if he listens to this when he's not on it, but whatever. Anyway, happy birthday, Ben, and things.
Yeah, we all wish him a happy birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe he's 50 years young.
And doesn't look a day over. Yeah. No, it's fun. So in looking at the stats, and I've never actually run these to figure out because it's too much work to go back and fill in the first 100 or so episodes. Ben is the one who's almost always here. So whenever he's gone, we immediately enter into, this is the rarest combination. So
yeah.
So this is pretty close. This is pretty close there.
Yeah.
This is the Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker unlockable of level episodes.
Yep.
Wow.
Cutting to the brief.
Gotta move this along here.
Yeah, I suppose. Minor programming note: we're not going to be here next week because of Thanksgiving. I'm not going to. I'm not going to be at my house.
I just would like to point out that I recorded the podcast from several thousand miles away from my house several times.
True. But I think the key point was I was here with all the recording stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So well, the cheerful news for anybody who is a Jala fan, I'm going to be on Dark Insight next week. So at the end of the week, instead of the level, you will have a Dark Insight, including yours truly.
Go do that.
So yeah, that'll be a thing.
Yeah.
So being the witch at the Ren Fair, that was just warm up, right?
Yeah, there you go. So
wait a minute, witch at the Ren Fair. Oh yeah, I recognize this.
Yeah, so why don't we just segue over into Jala's weekend?
Yeah.
Jala went and ran 20 miles on Saturday and then turned around and went to Renaissance Festival on Sunday, and it was super fun. And my friend decided that she didn't want to dress up, but I can't go to, I've been going to Renfest and dressing up every single time for the last 7 years, and so I can't go to Renfest without at least kind of dressing up. So I just threw a bunch of random stuff from my closet together and then ended up being a very festive and colorful witch who can run marathon distances and storm castles. So, get you one that can do everything. Why not?
That's cool. Did you get a good response?
Oh, yeah. People freaking love my hat. Something fierce, for sure.
It is a very floppy hat.
It is a floppy hat with a little curly, multicolored tail on the back of it. You see how you see it in that second picture there? Yeah.
It looks like you cut off a chameleon's tail. And,
Right? It's really cool. And for people who do not know, you can just follow me on various social media at Jalachan, and you will see it there because that's my current profile picture, I think, on social media.
In where? In places?
In places, all the places.
Okay,
any
cool.
place that I am Jalachan.
Yeah.
So you can find. So.
Yeah. Well, I will also put a link to this post in the show notes if people want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see my fancy, very colorful self. With my little purple bustle and everything else. So
yeah, so it sounds like you had a good time.
Oh yeah, I had fun. I always have fun. It was great.
I've never been to a Ren Fair.
Well, okay, so I have been to the Renaissance Festival every year for many years in a row. I'm not one of those crazy people who goes out and camps and is there every single weekend or anything, but I do make an appearance. And depending upon who I'm around at the time, or if certain groups of friends want to go with me, then I might end up going multiple times in the same year just because different people want to go. But like at this point, I know the entire fairground very well, where all the shops are, and what what sells what. If you need to know where to find something at the Texas Renaissance Festival, I can probably tell you.
Draw a map from memory.
Yeah, I can. And, some of the people who are vendors there recognize me because I'm there all the time. Like every year I'm there. So,
Yeah.
and then too, like there's only a couple of shows that I will go and see that I will make it a point to go see. But the big one that I always go to is Iris and Rose, Wild and Thorny. They are a singing pair of sisters who have lots of fun body songs, and throughout the day they get progressively drunker. So the last show of the day is fucking hilarious. And the thing is, they never do the same show twice, and they've got a lot of material. So, like I've never seen, in all the time that I've watched them, I've never seen them do the same exact show ever. Like it's always a bunch of jokes and limericks and songs and everything else, and then they throw to the audience, and then audience members will come up, and the super fans will actually like prepare and have like their own written down stuff that they've come up with during the year to come to the Iris and Rose show and like say the thing. So it's actually a lot of fun. And so they go to Renaissance festivals all around the U.S. So if there is a Ren Fair near you, they are probably there.
Nice.
So, but they sell recorded music, but it is definitely not nearly as fun as what it is in person.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a lot bawdier and it's a lot funnier.
I imagine that let's say 76% of the appeal of that music is venue. Not to take away from their talent, but like I could see that definitely being a key factor.
Oh sure. It's N1, but the Cincinnati Ren Fair is pretty good. Mm-hmm. The one time I went, I don't have anything to compare it to, and I may have showed up slightly inebriated and with my son in a bear outfit and spent the entire time yelling that there was a ferocious bear after me. So I would say it was a pretty good experience.
Yeah, from what you remember of it.
Yeah, and see, like, it's just a lot of fun because a lot of people dress up. It's a lot of fun people watching. And what's hilarious is that because, I've been, like, I had to take a hiatus when I had all the medical stuff this summer, and I'm still on hiatus because my life has not stopped blowing up since. Like right now, my mom got home from being in the hospital for a month, so like she's in a wheelchair, and I'm having to do a lot of extra stuff. So like I just don't have time right now. Mm-hmm. But like I was doing belly dance regularly for so long that I actually know all the belly dancers who are up there, and I know a lot of the people who are actors, like they're friends of mine.
You're plugged into the scene.
Well, I mean, like, I didn't even meet them at the Renaissance Festival. I just happened to know them from somewhere else, and then, hey, they work there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's funny.
The closest thing that I had around where I grew up, there's a famous for Ohio farm called Malabar Farm, one town over from where I live, and they have Frontier Days is what they call it. So picture like a Ren Fair, but for like the Ohio frontier. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's all about farming and agriculture, and they get some of the local native population to come and set up and do demonstrations of their arts. It's kind of cool. Like you want to go with a kid because you can appreciate it through their eyes, but like it's a beautiful piece of land and get to walk around. And the thing that has always confused me, this was several years ago, but who knows if this is true. For a couple of years in a row, they had a cart or like a trailer almost, or a tent, some kind of conveyance that that sold like sugary drinks. Like, sarsaparilla and root beer, like you got the sense that it was like, small batch kind of things, but it was medieval themed. Like the entire, I've got the bottle, like I kept it because it was real nice. It's like a swing top, blue glass bottle, but it's like Odin's dragon or something like that. And I was like, oh, you never get sarsaparilla anywhere. So I got some sarsaparilla and fought off the bees that were coming after me. But like for here in this 20 foot by 30 foot space in the middle of the frontier, we just have hark yon sire, perchance to fetch some mead. Like, yeah. Like I was going to go over here and learn how they remove the seeds from the cotton, but okay. They've got a shed. They've got a shed over there where they're drying tobacco. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like at the Renaissance Festival. People just kind of do whatever. Like,
Right.
they had a bunch of outfits that were like, corsets and whatever for women that had like, like Wonder Woman color schemes and things. And so
Yeah.
like basically remade it as like kind of quasi Renaissance-ish looking clothes, but like superhero
That's cool.
themed.
Yeah.
And, there are also all the steampunk people who wander around, and every
Yes.
once in a while, because there's also, like the Sea Devil Tavern and stuff like that. There's a pirate sector.
Oh, God.
You've also got the people who will wander around dressed up as characters from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, that kind of a thing. So, I mean, like, you just get whatever at Renaissance
at
Festival.
least-
It's just an excuse for people to get drunk and dress up and whatever.
And eat turkey legs.
Yeah, that too. I mean, if you're that kind of person that eats turkey legs, and that whole discussion where you and Gary were talking about chewing on cartilage and shit was just like the nastiest thing I have ever heard in my life. Cole, that
Oh,
disgusted me.
cartilage is good for you.
Don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's
that was
how you
nasty.
That's how you get your gristle in your diet.
Yeah, how else are you going to maximize? I hate chewing on cartilage. No, that's hilarious,
now.
Jala, because you're talking. That was like a premium episode of Abject Suffering. That's a show
Okay.
where we talk about some really challenging concepts, but it's just hilarious that out of the hundreds and hundreds of those we've done, that is the one that like turned your stomach.
Well, dude, I was not the only one. I had other listeners that also had the premium episode, and they were like, "Oh my god, no, seriously, I even eat meat, and that was too much for me." And so, like, yeah, you guys did a thing with that one.
Yep, proud of that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, my weekend wasn't nearly as eventful as yours, except Allison, friend of the network, Allison, dropped something really disturbing on my, basically right on my
I
lap.
saw this. Yeah.
Yeah. My doppelganger.
Oh
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
you all saw this? I put it
yeah.
in.
His eye color
By
isn't the
which you
same,
mean
though.
we saw you.
Well, by which, yeah. So Jala's correct. The eye color is not the same. Also, I'm not in a wheelchair. It appears this character is. Guess there's a show on Showtime called Shameless, and Jala sent me just added me with this picture and like, oh, it's me. That's funny. What's the original image? I don't recognize what that shows from. Like, no, really. Like, what is your doctor to do that? No, this is just a person.
No, don't blame me. That was Allison, not Jala.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. There we go. Sorry. I've included this. I've linked the post here. Yeah, it's too much is what it is. So it's an actor whose name is Zach Perlman. No relation to Ron Perlman as far as I can tell. If you look him up, like other times, like he does not look anything like me really. But if there's something about this lighting and there's something about his expression that is just it is eerie what it is.
What made me laugh is that in the comments somebody was like, I think that this is how your face would look exactly if someone just came up and handed you a baby.
Yeah. That was Jenny Palladna. who fired-
Bewildered and slightly indignant.
like, what do you expect me to do with this? Yeah. So that is the cosmic let's say disparity that I have been trying to reconcile for the past 72 hours.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anybody else have any stories from the past week or the weekend?
Mm-mm. I just think there's only one thing left, Cole, which is you need to kill him and take his place.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. As long as we never meet, at that point it will force us to a conflict.
I'd watch that fight.
Yeah. We must enact the right of carature.
Apparently, he starred in a movie called Hot Bot, whose tagline was "Turn her on."
Oh no! Oh no!
He's like a character actor. Like whenever it calls for like a big red haired guy, and it's like you look at him in pretty much any light, and he has exactly the kind of red hair that I don't, which is like the really coppery, just like oh yeah, like that is totally just you really coppery and red and brassy. I'm like no, I don't have that, and that's what I think people say when they say it. When they say that I have red hair, but I don't have that.
Well, also, man, his beard is like really, really red. Way more red than yours is.
Yeah. So, But yeah, it's just that one picture because of the light and the shape of the hair and stuff. I don't know.
The shape of his head.
So you can just peruse his headshots to get all kind of styling ideas.
No, I'm really comfortable with what I have. So with that, I think it's probably time for us to hop in and do the regular kind of show, the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. And why don't we get started with the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Dennis, you've got the hot topic here.
I do. I take the layup this week. It was the thought I had when I posted this to our.
Yeah. So, what's the conversation I'm going to have to hear all about for the next 6 or so months?
Yeah. Well, they fixed
too,
it. They fixed it apparently. So maybe it'll all go away, right?
This problem is still it's going to be sitting here because they're fundamental. We should outline what it actually is.
Yeah. Let's
without
talk
talking
about
around it. What's the story?
So EA has microtransactions in Battlefront 2 because every game has microtransactions now. And a Redditor did some math based on what they were getting from every online match in terms of these credits, which buy you shards, which buy you gold, which buy you platinum, which buy you characters.
It's the usual free-to-play multi-currency obfuscation of value that seeks to short-circuit the way we interpret what things are worth.
Yeah. And seriously, the number of hoops I just jumped through is not that exaggerative.
There are 3 forms of currency in this game, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so they, did some math to figure out how long in-game time, based on the average of what they were earning, it would take. And they estimated it would take over 40 hours to earn Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, which are kind of the banner heroes for this game. Which is just insane. So this went up on Reddit, and people exploded about it. And then a community manager, a poor community manager for Battlefront 2, responded trying to give some sort of excuse about, well, we want it to feel like an accomplishment. And that became the most downvoted post in history in a matter of 24 hours. Yeah. Now, that's a conversation for another time, but suffice to say, people were unhappy. So as of this recording, EA has come back and said, oh, we realized that was a bad idea. Let's cut prices on Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader by 75%. So from 60,000 credits or whatever it is down to 15. And then they took other heroes from 20,000 to 10,000 or 5,000. So this seems now, quote unquote, much more reasonable. It's still 10 hours of in-game time to unlock one.
Is that 10 hours for one of them or for both of them?
10 hours for one of them. So
okay, so it's 20 still hours completely unreasonable.
Well, but I mean, this is a multiplayer shooter kind of game, and presumably you're going to be playing hundreds of hours of this, and if you're really into it, not to jump right to their defense.
The first game where you generally played 1 hour of it.
I mean, it's not unreasonable to expect somebody to play 10 hours of a multiplayer game with a progression system like this.
That is fair. And it would be interesting to compare this to, say, the time it took to unlock all weapons in Call of Duty or what have you.
Although I would say the difference is potentially this is 10 hours where every resource you earn is going towards this, whereas, getting something Call of Duty might be 10 hours where you're getting something else along the way every hour or whatever.
That's a great point.
I think the point that I'm making is that the hours the hours that you spend playing a game, that figure, what is considered to be the value for purchase, changes when you get into something that is multiplayer based like this, as opposed to at a campaign based thing. Yeah.
True.
Sure,
although I still think saying I still think 10 hours is way too long for that being, solely devoted to unlocking one character.
Yeah. Well, it also gets around to playing as these characters is a massive feature of this game that they have really advertised around. This is the one where you get to play as the character that you know about.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is true that there are other ways to earn credits than just straight up playing the game, or playing the multiplayer mode that was used for the calculation. But still, this is a very clumsy attempt that doesn't seem well thought out. It's amazing that they slashed so deeply so fast. Like if they didn't know that this was completely ludicrous, how could they have been that ready to cut so deeply? Like 75% is huge. It just that makes it feel almost more greedy. And it's like, yeah, we can, over the course of 2 days decide to walk this back 75%.
What should they have done?
God, I don't know. Not done it in the first place.
Well, obviously
taken out microtransactions.
Yeah. Well, and that does get to a fair point of, it's never going to be enough for the internet until every single person who worked on this game is burnt at the stake.
Well, I mean, I think do the right thing is not exactly a high bar.
but what's the right thing?
Don't have microtransactions. If you paid $60 for a game, give me the fucking game.
Okay, yeah. No, and that gets into a bigger thing. I think that all of them should be rendered for their carbon. That way, the people who deserve the jobs should be able to take their place.
Yeah.
No, I obviously
at least the executives.
Yeah, I don't actually think that, but like this is a massive thing. I mean, I was listening to the besties, and like 3 of the 4 games they brought up, maybe more of them were these big kind of games that where they were trying to build all of this kind of like long tail monetization into, either out of loot boxes or the notion of pay this money to completely obviate needing to do these quests to build this item or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just any number of like monetary shortcuts that they put in.
The interesting thing is, like, so Warframe has not the exact same thing, but they have a crafting system where technically you can get any item in the game without paying for it. However, it's going to take you hours and hours and hours. And I would not be surprised at all if Warframe had an item or a set or a rig or whatever that took 40 hours of in-game time to actually earn. David, you would be better positioned to comment on.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's exactly true, because although that is true, some for like the Prime tier, which is basically their like end game grind type thing. Generally speaking, their approach is, while it takes a very long time to get every item, you generally have enough resources at any given time to get any single item you want.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say the one thing they do have that's kind of is a thing like that is that once you craft the items, it can take a very long time. Most notably, like a new Warframe itself takes like 3 days of real time.
Holy shit.
Although I feel like that's a little bit more understandable when there's not a $60 upfront price.
Yeah, sure. Mm. And I think it's kind of, this is a lightning rod for frustrations that have been brewing over months now, as more and more games have gone microtransaction crazy.
Headed this way. Look, I mean, think a few weeks back when we did the story about Amy Hennig being taken off of the Star Wars game and Visceral Games closing. They, same property, same publisher, who looked at what they were making, which was a single player story focused game, and saying, we can't actually make money off of the back of this.
Well, I mean, we can't make the money we want.
Yeah, we can't make the ROI. We can't we can't multiply our input on this by a certain amount. So we have to do this. I understand that's that distinction is built into what I said. What you end up looking at is like, we need to start charging what games are worth if we want to, or be okay paying what games are worth. If we want those big kind of things, like $60 is not enough, apparently, for them to make the kind of things that we want.
But I feel like the problem is that cuts both ways, because, a lot of games that charge for $60 aren't worth $60. And, I think a lot of the issue you have is, it's an averaging thing. If I could go and buy a game for $60 and be confident that it would be worth it, or more than $60, whatever, and be confident that would be worth it, that would be one thing, but you really can't. I mean, there's virtually no safe bets left out there anymore.
I mean, and there never were.
For a long time, like, you could be pretty sure if you bought, for example, a Valve game, that sooner or later they would make things right.
I mean, you're definitely selecting for just the winners that you remember getting. I think that it's kind of always been the case. And what you're saying is like, oh, I will pay money for a game from this studio. I guess like it has to be either or. Like, it has to be, I'm not going to play games anymore because this market is too toxic, or I'm going to pay more money for these. I'm going to pay for them to make the kind of games that I want and send that message along. Like, it can't just be like, hey, give me something infinitely valuable and infinitely good, and I'll pay you infinitely less.
I guess what I'm saying is, there. I don't know. I feel like most of the time when I buy a game for full price, I end up feeling ripped off, not feeling like I got a deal. Yeah. And that's the core problem. If those, if I had bought him Warframe for $60, I would have been thrilled. Yeah. Whereas, if I bought basically any EA game for $60, I would feel ripped off.
EA or Activision or any kind of like AAA non-Nintendo title that has to dip into these particular things. And like, we talk about microtransactions as if they're a new thing. Like, we're 10 years out from when the horse armor was added. Like, this has been a brewing for a decade. And like, I think that this is a whole lot of carpetbaggers from mobile coming over and saying like, hey, we make infinite money with basically nothing by tricking people into not understanding what things are worth, and no company and no publisher can avoid that because of their duty to their shareholders, et cetera, et cetera.
Because of course companies have a duty to their shareholders.
I mean, it's written into the law. I mean, that's
no, not really.
But that's that is what they have. That's the way the incentives are kind of set up. I think that ultimately what it comes down to is like, if you don't want to play it, like, buy indies. But also indies should probably start charging more money for them too, because there's another race to the bottom over there. It sounds like you don't like any video games that are made, David.
It's fairly uncommon.
Last week I was super salty, and David took my place this time. I was going to be all sugar this time, and man.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know. I feel like it's more just people not understanding capitalism. It's
I don't understand.
Basically,
but by people, do you mean the publishers, or you mean the buyers?
The publishers came out with downloadable content and microtransactions that were shit, and people didn't buy them. And instead of saying, hey, maybe we should provide a product that people want, they said, maybe we should force people to buy our shit.
How are they forcing you to buy their stuff?
By saying that you can't progress, not making it possible to progress in the game without doing so.
Well, I mean, you can do it. It just takes 10 hours, which you're probably going to play this game anyway.
Maybe you were. I know. Like,
no, I'm not interested in playing this game, and I think this is pretty garbage. I mean, I would fire back and say they wouldn't be doing this if it didn't make money. The consequences be damned for their PR.
Yeah. Well, I think that the key distinction there is making money versus making enough money, right? Yeah.
Well, and
it's an expectation game.
I think making money is legitimate if you're doing it by adding value. Mm-hmm. It's not legitimate if you're doing it by trying to manipulate people.
Yeah. No, I'm not taking the tack that it's good for them to manipulate this stuff. I just think that it's like, it's just shameful that this is the hack that we have arrived at, or that the industry has arrived at, to justify the budgets on these games, or to, kind of justify any number of decisions all the way up and down the line to make something that is worse.
I see, but I think it can be done well. Like, look at Overwatch. I think that's an example of microtransactions being baked into a game that you pay. I think it was full price for it. It was either $40 or $60.
It was $40.
Yeah, there you go. And doing it in a way that makes total sense. That I know people that are perfectly happy to drop money on it. I know people who don't feel like paying extra on top, and they just don't and aren't bothered by it.
Yeah.
I think it gets so dicey when you get into mechanical stuff rather than cosmetic stuff. But that's probably another conversation.
I think I don't think it's about cosmetic versus mechanical. I think it's about abusive or not abusive. Because like most of it in Warframe is mechanical, it's just not abusive.
What makes what Warframe does not abusive compared to some of the stuff that we're talking about?
I would say that the fact that you can advance without having to pay for stuff.
You just put a bunch of time into it. Kind of like playing 10 hours to get Luke Skywalker.
I don't know. I felt
but what
like
I'm saying is there's not an equivalent to that in Warframe.
I mean, you don't get currency off of the back of playing the game and completing quests that you put into acquiring stuff that otherwise you would spend money on.
What I'm saying is like there's not something where it's like I have to grind for hours and hours to get anything.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I sunk a good amount of time into it and felt like I barely scratched the surface of the stuff that I had very few weapons, just a couple rigs, and some of those were gifted to me. So,
I had the point where like I have literally like 20 or 30 weapons built that I haven't even taken out of the crafting station because I have more weapons that I can possibly use.
How many hours have you put into Warframe?
I've put in a lot of hours.
And now the argument falls apart.
No, I don't think we're saying this.
The other issue is, like I said, I didn't pay $60 for Warframe. Like I would say there are distinct features that if it was going to not be a free-to-play game would need to be gotten rid of, like the crafting times. But I think within it being a free-to-play game, that's reasonable, but there's nothing where it's just pay money or you basically can't advance.
I mean, is your problem that they're doing it both ways? You're paying $60 for this thing out the gate, and also it has a gigantic hole that you throw money in to not play the game that you paid $60 to play?
Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it's, a matter of degree. Obviously...
I mean, at this point, we should also say none of us have played this game, so it's we can't actually know.
We can know it. It has a symbol on it that says EA.
I mean, that's reductive, and you sound like somebody on Reddit right now. Yeah, I mean, just like we can't just like jump out and say that isn't a basis for the argument or for like knowing the way that this articulates.
It isn't a valid argument. It doesn't mean it's not one I'm going to make.
Oh, true. Well, I just want you to I want you to understand what you sound like.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty hostile. I'm curious if this actually gets in the way of the single player, which I understand the single player and this is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any final thoughts on this?
It's not a game that was on my roster. Any chance that it had of being added to my roster of like stuff I want to play kind of evaporated with the snafu, but
there's so much.
I haven't spent any money that I was going to spend on them, so no harm to me and no harm to them, really.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much good stuff to play, like anything to disqualify it. to thin that
but help me narrow down, please. Just give me an excuse.
Yeah. Does Destiny have any of this? Any kind of cash economy built into it?
They do. You can buy, but it's all cosmetic stuff.
Okay.
Well, I guess I shouldn't technically say that because so you can get emotes, you can get shaders, you can get skins for your ship and for your Sparrow, your speeder bike.
Shaders to make the screen black and white, or
shaders to make your armor and weapons different colors. So
dye, like armor dye.
Yeah, exactly. Armor dye. Exactly.
Okay. That's very confusing.
It is. Welcome to Destiny.
The ships, or not the speeders, can have special effects attached to them that technically, I guess, kind of have a gameplay implication. Mm-hmm. I had a speeder that instantly summoned instead of holding down the button for like 2 seconds to summon.
Right.
Which meant I got to where I was going that much faster.
It's worth saying these are pretty exclusively like non-combat things.
Non-combat, and certainly nothing that touches PvP.
Right.
So yeah, I could get in depth on all the differences, but it does cosmetics, and I haven't found it intrusive. I'm not the type of person who is annoyed with microtransactions in games as long as it doesn't have mechanical impact.
Right. Or competitive impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
technically, the Ministry of Funny Walks emote had mechanical impact for a brief period of time, but...
Wait a minute. Did they bite West of Loathing Stees?
Oh, or did West of Loathing
we talk about that?
We did, yeah. It lets you clip through walls and...
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, they did, although they weren't nearly as entertaining as the like little worm crawl you can do in West of Loathing.
Apparently, the funny walk one impacts speedruns in that game.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, crazy walking or whatever it is.
How about that?
It's pretty minor. It's more minor than you would think. Let's move from dumb things to spend money on to kind of cool things to spend money on. Last year, Humble, they released this kind of gigantic package of games where all the proceeds go to charity. And surprise, they have done something similar this time as well. Done another one of these. And it's been a while since we've just made a news item out of like, hey, go do this on Humble, because like they're different than they were when we started the show. But this is actually really cool, and it has a lot of stuff that we've talked about on the show in here, kind of built in. It's pay what you want. I think the suggested one is $30 for 27 games. But like they've got, just looking at the page of stuff that we have talked about a lot in the past, they have like Starbound, Darkest Dungeon, Stardew Valley, Her Story, Pony Island is in here, The Park, Machinarium, Psychonauts, and those are just good.
Oh, I was just going to throw out Van Helsing, although not exact. He's definitely on like my guilty pleasure list.
What kind of, is that like a character action game, or is that a first person thing?
It's basically a Diablo clone.
Okay.
But it's a little, its big flaw is its generic Diablo clone. Its big advantage is it does a really fun like mashup of kind of a weird science and like vampire hunter type thing. That's a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, but all this is pretty cool, and they've even got like some pretty good horror stuff in here. Actually, they've got Kole, they've got The Park, they've got Dread Out. All of these are some kind of more obscure horror things that were released in the past couple years or so. I don't know. I think this is really cool. And like the money is split between like American Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders, basically to lend support to people ravaged by the earth coming apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
I don't mean to make light of it, but it's been a particularly tough year for natural disasters. So this is a good cause to, to pay money and get games for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody see anything in here that they want to give a big up to?
Let's see here.
If you like The Secret World, The Park is the same universe.
The same, made with the same assets too, right?
Yeah. I have no idea what it is, but Primal Carnage Extinction looks amazing.
Huh.
That's like Humans versus Dinos. I have it. It's like a team-based shooter thing.
Nothing
That's
about
what
that
I'm thinking
does
of.
not
I
sound
might
amazing.
be thinking of the different thing, but I think that's what that one is.
That sounds accurate compared to the video that I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
It looks very trashy.
The obvious one is Machinarium, which we did a special episode for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do anything with Lakeview Cabin?
No, I've never heard of this until I saw it on here.
Yeah, that looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like a pixel art, like hyper gory slasher kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm real curious about it. I'm going to pick this up. Even though I own like 3/3 of the stuff. 3/3, that's right, 100%.
3/3 of it.
Yep, 3/3.
Well, that's okay. We have like that giveaway Slack list.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you get the keys if you buy something you already own?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes
So
this
there's
a
like
much
a
better deal
running
for
list
me.
on Slack. There's a channel where we give stuff, like people who have extra codes and stuff will dump them in there, so that way other people in the community can get them and play them.
Yeah.
So
If you ever get really bored and you don't have a game, if you're in the Slack, you can go there and get a game.
Yeah, go shopping.
So I completely forget why, but for some reason I liked the team behind Fearless Fantasy.
I don't know.
I do not at all recall why. I just remember that is a fact.
Yeah. That is a fact about me and a thing I like. Yeah. I don't know. I thought I'd bring this up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
What's that?
Acceptable.
Acceptable. I'm like,
No,
oh man,
maybe,
there's the doppelganger again.
Well, I don't know. I just wanted to say the thing. It's like, no, it's fine. It's all right. You chose this as your news item.
Don't
It is
attack me.
news.
Yeah.
It's good.
Let's see here. Jala, tell me what's happening in this story.
Yeah, so games have been used for education for a long time, but I actually have a story today about their use as educational intervention. The None in 3 project is using video games to teach Barbadian primary and secondary school children to develop certain attitudes in responses to domestic violence, because that is a big problem in Barbados, apparently. It focuses on teaching conflict resolution, developing empathy and emotional intelligence by following the story of a 10-year-old boy named Jesse, who is experiencing domestic violence at home. And it's currently on desktop and laptop, but they're trying to expand over and work with a developer to get it on smartphones as well. It made enough waves that the government of the UK has funded the program, and with over $4 million that is being given to help expand the project to China, Pakistan, Jamaica, and Uganda. And I don't know, but I'm guessing those are places chosen specifically because of their domestic violence problems.
Right.
The gist is that by educating the young people to respond correctly to these situations and to have the right attitudes about them, they can help limit the manifestation of domestic violence in the future. So, intervention by way of the long gone, the long con,
Yeah.
We're gonna con them into being better people.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Though.
Yeah.
That's the last lecture would have called that the head fake.
There you go. So that's kind of cool. I had talked about something like that. Oh, I don't know. It's probably 2 years ago now that I mentioned it. There was that college that had that whole game on their website that was about like consent and stuff like that. And that was a thing that they were using in colleges, in college classrooms about consent, in situations that college kids would have, dealt with. So, yeah, it's something kind of like that, but this is actually like something that's being implemented with school kids, like, really young kids to, basically see if they can change their attitudes while they're in their formative years. Not that kids in college aren't, in formative years, but less so.
Right. I mean, it's still any kind of intervention. Yeah.
So I was just kind of scrolling through. There's something that caught my eye that's kind of cool is apparently the setting and all the voice actors and stuff like that are all from the Caribbean. So that's kind of neat to just, if nothing else, have a kind of a different I don't know, not have your main character be generic Nolan North guy.
Right. It's not James Whiteson, going around. And, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last paragraph here, they did additional research to kind of get messages out for other issues or other kind of populations, specifically women who experience domestic violence during pregnancy, women with disabilities, women living with HIV, and women in same-sex relationships. So this is a pretty it looks like the domestic violence part of it is only one small thing. Like, and this is, I was about to say this is a novel approach to public health education, but like, this doesn't seem that different to me than like Sesame Street in South Africa adding their first HIV positive character.
Yeah.
To get that there, except this is interactive and comes with a different set of advantages, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it kind of reminds me of a while back we had a multiplayer question that was about, what kinds of things you learn from or whatever. How did games help you through something, or what did you learn from a game, or whatever, something like that. And it kind of was the same sort of thing where, like, really video games influence your outlook on things more than you realize they do. Especially like as you are a young person and as you grow up. And so, like, it makes a lot of sense, Yeah. So yeah. And if it's done right, and if it's done in a way that, really does engage the kids to where it's not like, oh, I got to do this stupid thing for an hour, like, then yeah, this would be definitely something that, could really help in the future. And there may be more of this kind of thing coming up,
Games taught me to type. They can teach other more important stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. And this is this is kind of great because I never have any reason to think about Barbados or the Caribbean or the issues that happen down there. So that's nice to know that they're solving problems in their own way. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. David, you got a story?
Sure. So this one isn't exactly video games, but I just kind of thought it was cool. This came up on Hacker News a while back, and it's a guy who's a guy who does a blog basically on the intersection of like actual the actual law, legal system, stuff like that, and comic books, the comic book universes.
Yeah, it's a blog called lawandthemultiverse.com.
Right. And this one was discussing was an article entitled Outlawry, Supervillains in Modern Law. And so it's basically discussing the original meaning of the term outlaw was basically back in medieval Europe. There was no actual police force, and there are things where in a lot of places, either the court for a given crime, for all of England, only met in London, or B, a town's legal system only met 2 or 3 times a year. And so basically, even if someone was convicted of a crime, there's virtually no way to actually enforce any sentencing.
Okay.
And so what they did is, someone who committed a serious crime would simply be declared an outlaw.
Excommunicated, right?
Well, basically it means that the law no longer applies to them. So anyone can in effect kill them on site with no legal repercussions.
Yeah, so outlaw, outside of the protection of the law.
Right, exactly. And and it's kind of interesting because it goes through kind of some of the history of this and how this evolved, and for example, the fact that this was never something that was imported to America, but this is in fact more or less de facto how the Old West basically worked. Mm-hmm. The argument makes that relates to superheroes is basically arguing that in a superhero universe, this sort of system would be a very plausible way of reconciling the issue of kind of the elephant in the room of like every time a superhero, movie wants to do like, oh, we're going to make it gritty and realistic is, well, your characters are basically vigilantes, so they would, be arrested immediately, or just everyone they bring in would immediately be, have their case thrown out. And basically makes the argument that, if they're superheroes, in a world where supervillains exist, that there's no possible chance that the normal law enforcement system could handle them. It would be very conceivable to set up a system where you basically declared, certain supervillains to be outlaws, and then had a class of superheroes that went around and took care of them.
So vigilantes going after the vigilantes themselves.
Or vigilantes going after the people who are no longer under protection of the law, so technically they're not vigilantes anymore.
Right. Huh.
So,
if a vigilante breaks the law, but there's no law to break, is it still a vigilante?
Yeah. Who laws the outlaws?
Exactly.
Right.
Who vigils the lantes?
Yeah. I'd like to see this worked into like an open world game. Like, it's really frustrating in Oblivion or Skyrim, where you accidentally pick up the wrong thing and then somebody chases you halfway across the map. Like if one of the punishments, like, or depending on the town, was that if you were a criminal, then all of a sudden, like, maybe guards don't come to your help, and more people kind of put a mark on you to kill you and take your stuff.
That's also that's one of my big problems with a lot of those survival games like DayZ, is that ultimately, if you look at things like the reason, they're not actually simulating anything, because, we know how society, works when there's no laws, because that's how most of society has been, and it's not anarchy.
Right, right.
Ultimately, if people know you're someone that's a bad person, sooner or later, and usually sooner, that's going to catch up with you.
Right. And not and not as a function of the state. Man,
right, exactly.
And I remember when I was young, we would use on our popcorn, instead of regular salt, we would use outlaw seasoned salt. Bone. Who made a disgusted sound?
Me?
Okay.
Who else? Come on.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, you put up this question, so what is the question that you ask the nice people?
Michael P., thank you, asked, what's the craziest item you've crafted or structure that you've built in a game?
Yeah, and this is a good one. A lot of people came out, and I'm going to say we're likely not going to get through all these, so I apologize in advance. But I'm going to get it started here with Nick, who says, I created a four-wheeled vehicle in Gary's mod once that glitched out the game to such a degree that it was legitimately frightening. Yeah, I got into some of that Carboys action.
I need details. What did it look like?
Yeah,
Describe the crash.
I want to understand what kind of abstract horrors you unleashed.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is it didn't exist fully in Euclidean space, and summoned screaming, demons.
Yeah. And his PC tower suffered a minor case of China syndrome. Yeah, they're still trying to recover it from the Earth's mantle. Let's see, Dennis, what does Graham say?
Graham says, my Minecraft memories are a bit hazy, but back when I played a lot more, there was this mod that introduced a lot of energy-based blocks, like solar panels and strip mining devices. I once had a whole system of blocks mining countless acres of earth and converting it into energy for my use. In many Terraria games, I usually make a helevator, which is a shaft you mine straight down into the earth until you hit the bottom of the game world. One time, I really spruced up my elevator by lining the shaft with fancy walls and rooms and with lots of decoration.
Oh, you never mine straight down.
Yeah, you need platforms to jump up.
The rug really ties the elevator together.
It really spruces up the hellmouth. Yeah. Yeah, no, you get into some of those mods that make Minecraft not more realistic, but more fiddly, and all of a sudden it gets a little much. Basically turns Minecraft into Factorio.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. I'd spent a lot of time with Minecraft mods, specifically Mistcraft.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, it's not a thing anymore. But it built in world crafting and stuff, and it basically brought Mist's world book stuff into Minecraft.
Oh, cool.
Neat. Yeah. David, what does Greg say?
Greg says there's a mod with Morrowind, which I had new on the PC, that adds weapon racks and practice dummies in your house after you get far enough in the game to build it. Since you're tripping over weapons and armor in that game, I used it to show off over 100 weapons and armor that I picked up during many hours of playing the game. Assured to give anyone who entered a heart attack.
And Morrowind was such that I think the more items that you had in there, the longer it took for a room to load. So like,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine how long it took you to enter the door of your house.
To be fair, though, I feel like this is someone that would back me up on my need to have 10 billion items in Warframe.
True. Yeah. And also, Morrowind didn't have the physics in it, so you didn't run into the problem that I ran into, which is, ooh, I've got this shelf full of potions. Oh, they're all over the floor.
Yeah.
I liked one of my favorite memories was in EverQuest, converting all of your coins to copper and just moving at a crawl and like trying to go down the stairs and dying from fall damage.
Yeah, I died in Shadowhaven like that. It was totally like I don't know what I was doing or what I was thinking, but yeah, your fall damage was pinned to your overall equip weight or carry weight. Yeah. Jala, what does Juan say?
One says, craziest crafting item, ultimate keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 2. Weapon was great, but required looting looting damn near every chest in the game and some serious grinding for other components. As for structure, I made a track between my two strongholds in Minecraft on opposite sides of the map. Went through mountains and underwater with glass walls to see the sea creatures. Plenty of those red speed track things, so it didn't take long to commute.
Oh, son. You were making this when they actually had the accelerators built in, and you didn't have to use the weird little side tracks with extra minecarts to take advantage of the way that they modified your acceleration. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, Minecraft is I think probably going to be the genesis of a lot of these.
Well, for one of mine, because I had a few answers, the first time when I was playing Kingdom Hearts, the original game, and I was making my gummy ship, because there's like a little spaceship section where there's like a spaceship shooter thing between the worlds that you go to. Like, you can, put different parts onto it, and mine, like, every single time I start making a thing, it just gets ridiculous. And so, yeah, like my little gummy ship in that was silly.
I was always disappointed that apparently the Japanese version actually had like missions related to the gummy ships.
To my understanding, that's like in Kingdom Hearts 2 and stuff like that they have like more that you can do with the gummy ships. But okay. I may be completely wrong. I only played the first one, and anything I know about anything past that is from like hearsay and what I happen to remember when people say a thing, and I have like no reference for it. So don't listen to me. Somebody will probably tweet me and tell me.
I wonder how that series is going to go now that Disney is everything.
I mean, people have speculated that there's going to be a Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, in, what is it, 2? One of them had a Tron world in it. Like,
oh,
yeah.
really?
But that was always Disney, so I don't know. Let's see. Here's a question related to that, because I'd never thought to ask it, but I've kind of wondered. Gummy ship, is it like gummy bears, but not?
Gummi.
So like a gummy. Is it made out of gummy?
No, not that I know of. It's just a little ship thing. I don't know why they call it a gummy ship. Okay,
it's made out of Minecraft blocks, basically.
Yeah, it really is kind of. It's like a very simplified looking spaceship thing. I don't know why it's called a gummy ship. It's a silly name.
Oh, I'll take a look here. I'll figure it out.
But then again, like money is spelled MUNNY. So I mean, you can have a gummy ship and a money.
It's the Trigun approach to spelling things.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna need to do some more research on this because I need to figure out if that ship is made out of gummy. But while I do that, David writes, smithing in the PS1 game Legend of Mana is incredibly technical. There are effects, elemental balances, levels, and potencies to take into account. The best weapons and armor can take up to 60 forging steps to complete, often with rare materials. Holy shit. I did it once, following a FAQ as a kid. You become undeniably powerful, but I have no idea how people figured this out initially.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, and he even linked to a FAQ for anybody who wants to see what in the heck he had to do.
Let me see here. Tempering FAQ. Holy cow, let me do a print screen on this bad boy. Let's see here. How many pages is this? Yep, 31 pages of figuring out. Yeah. Wow. Huh. Well, good on you for having the patience as a kid to do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Oof.
Dennis, what does Patrick say?
Patrick says, I never really dig that deeply into construction and crafting systems, so it would probably be one of those rosebud mansions I used to build in The Sims. These McMansions always ended up ugly and poorly designed, but it didn't matter as long as the walls extended to the borders of the buildable area.
Oh, no!
I'm hoping that now I've met all of the assigned objectives in Stardew Valley that I can stop worrying about productivity and make the beautiful farm I've always wanted, and that it will put anything else I've ever designed in a game to shame.
No.
By making it reach the entirety of the borders of the buildable area.
Oh,
right?
like mine does, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, you got to have an outdoor, it's really depressing to play The Sims with just the indoor. Huh. Yeah, you got to put a garden up in that,
And you have to have the trap pool, otherwise how are you going to, drown people?
Yeah, how are you going to deal with the population? I almost called you a dummy, and I don't mean that, but it was going to be like a funny little thing. Like, how are you gonna deal with all those Sims, dummy? I don't mean that.
No, I'm cool with that. I accept this.
No, I was talking to the person who wrote in. I wasn't calling you a dummy. I wasn't calling anybody a dummy. Yeah.
Don't be mean, Cole.
But I didn't. I specifically didn't. But then I kind of did. Hey, David, what does Adam say?
Adam says, building stuffs in games can be a lot of fun. I enjoyed building an impenetrable base in Warcraft 3 with lots of guard towers. I like the skate park I built in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. I built a vert pool in the corner, raised it as high as I could, and built 3 entrance ramp jumps that you could name as gaps in the editor. They varied in difficulty and style, so I would name the 3 largest and most stylish of these gaps. What would Batman do?
Or not even that. What would
Batman would do.
Yeah, what Batman would do. So yeah, you totally. It's like a little Venture Brothers thing. Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
It's not WWBD, it's WBWB.
Yep.
WBWD. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah. Man, good on you for not just making a skate park that was all the spike pits. Because that's all I did in Tony Hawk's level editor.
Wait, you can have why were spike pits even an option?
To make things a little bit interesting.
I'm kind of interested as the fact that I'm not seeing anybody replying with anything from Mario Maker. I kind of figured we'd see something from Mario Maker or whatever, but
yeah. I don't know. Looking ahead, I don't see it here. Maybe
Nope.
maybe other stuff overruled it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jala, what does Eric say?
Eric says, totally normal item to make, but if you can enchant 20% chameleon on 5 pieces of armor or clothing, Oblivion totally breaks in half.
Yeah. I was thinking about this when I was playing The Witcher today. Just calling back to other open world games and remembering just the number of times that I would, like the amount of time that I would spend, like when I was in college or something like that, just doing like fast travel or like resting near a farm and then stealing all of their corn and vegetables in order to turn into the money that I would need to sell to get the alchemy supplies that I needed to do exactly this. Like, Oblivion, like the crafting in Oblivion, you're not like making one particular thing, and you never really have anything to show off of the back of it, and it's nowhere near as flashy as what you can do in Morrowind, right? Like, so I'll get that out of the way right there. But like the game itself, like breaking it in half is exactly what you do. And you end up having the joy of having done so, of saying like, oh, the rules of this world no longer apply to me because I stole enough corn.
Yeah.
Well,
you are now the corn outlaw.
Corn master.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun making spells, specifically in Morrowind, but also Eric added a little bit more. I'll go ahead and read that too. Knockback on spells in Oblivion are linked to their effective range, not power. So I would make a shock spell as weak and high range as possible, drop a zillion items in a room, and cast it, causing everything to rain from the ceiling.
Nice. Lindsay writes, a torture chamber for monsters on Minecraft. I think 1 or 2 monsters can live a very long time in fire. Sorry. I think monsters can live, 1 or 2 monsters can live a very long time in fire. So I'd make a box with no way out, and they would burn. I am no good at building houses or statues. My son and daughters are, though, and I like pretending that I can make something on their level. Yeah.
Look closely at the sconces. Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think a lot of people probably have a version of that story of just like looking up schematics of Minecraft stuff and saying like, okay, here is my big gigantic featureless tower where I just make enough dark area inside of it so monsters spawn, and then the water system will bring all of the items to the bottom level. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because you need that gunpowder.
That's like there are a bunch of weird ones in Terraria. The way they did water physics, water didn't have to be a full. It was the only thing in the game that didn't fill an entire block. So you could basically create these like networks of sieves that you would pour water into it, and would actually more water would come out because of how it calculated everything.
Right.
Oh, huh.
God, I remember troubleshooting those things trying to, like, in Minecraft, because if you didn't fill in the water in exactly the right way, it wouldn't actually take up the space. It would be a flow block, and it would really mess everything up. Yeah, so it'd be like you had a kink in the hose, and you had to go back and test everything to make sure it was the right thing. Dennis, what does Sam say?
Sam says, I worked on a giant farm / wizard tower / mine complex in Minecraft until gameplay problems compounded on themselves enough that I got bored with the game. But I assume most people who have spent any amount of time in Minecraft have done something similar. Every time I've played Skyrim. I can never. Hey, what a minute. Anyway, every
Scrim.
Yeah. Every time I've played Skyrim, I know it's Skyrim. I think I have a panic attack every time I see the word written and implicitly say the wrong one.
I don't understand why they didn't just camel case it so you would put the right emphasis on rim, because you're definitely not the only person I've heard say that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Every time I've played Skyrim, I always spend a ton of time organizing stuff in a house so I can pretend my fantasy man, woman, lizard is sitting around reading books and drinking in between adventures. I do a similar thing in my room in Novak and Fallout New Vegas, but less fancy.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I talked about the potion shelf. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can only lead to heartbreak.
David, what does Jonathan say?
Jonathan says, in Fallout 4, I built many settlements with multiple levels. Trading stations on one level, dining on a second, entertainment on third, and sleeping area on fourth. Now the structure was high enough for gun emplacements. They were more functional than stylistic, but that's how I roll.
Wait, who's on third? Yeah.
Boo.
Sorry. The rhythm that you used when you said that kind of begged it. I'm terrible. Jala.
See, I never found a building location I liked in Fallout 4.
It was that game really turned me off with that particular system because it doesn't work very well on controller. And I like playing games, I like playing games on my recliner or on my couch.
I think the thing that killed me is like I loved the one town location is the old drive-through. And for some reason, I don't know why, like converting one of the like, the old style like drive-through screens that are also a building, like converting that into a house is like always been something I've thought would be really, really cool.
It's up there with like, oh, my house is a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only source of water there is like super irradiated, and that I don't know, it just bothered me. I didn't like taking radiation damage every time I tried to get water.
Yeah. I need to actually go and play that because I played every other Fallout. Anyway.
I just want whoever made New Vegas to make another one.
They're busy making their own super successful games.
What they made recently?
It's Obsidian, so they did Tyranny. Tyranny is their big recent one. Yeah. Jala, what does Alexander say?
Alex says, in Parasite Eve, I abused the ever-loving shit out of the gun parts system. My Frankenstein revolver, aka Big Frank, held more bullets than most semi-auto handguns, reloaded in the blink of an eye, fired as quickly as I could pull the trigger, could effectively one-shot God. And I want to say the bullets either exploded or lit people on fire. At some point, it stopped being about survival and became about how funny I could make Big Frank. By the end, I thought it was very funny.
It is very funny. God, that's a good
Exploded
crafting system.
Or lit people on fire? Why not and?
Yeah, get you a gun that can do both.
Slacker.
We're up on time, but we only have 3 left, so why don't we go super quick through the rest of these? Yeah.
Go.
Ignacio says, the most fun I had in Fallout 4 was with the settlement building. I liked building giant floating superstructures. Sure, they were mostly empty rooms, but it tickled me to see a huge floating castle every time I walked near a settlement. A laudable goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis, what does Gwillem say?
Gwillem says, this was back in 2011, but I secretly recreated the first level of Wolfenstein 3D on me and my brother's Minecraft server, just a few layers beneath our main village. I don't recall how long this took, but I had to do it in shifts, disconnecting whenever he logged in so he wouldn't see my name floating around underneath the town and dig down to investigate. Once I was done, how do you keep someone from digging down in Minecraft? Like that's
I think if you have a town, there might be some kind of unspoken agreement that like, hey, this isn't where our mine goes.
Don't fuck this shit. Yeah. Okay. Once I was done, I connected the opening room to our village and lured him in with signs, and he got the reference straight away. My hard work vindicated. That is amazing.
Dufresne was a big fan of Wolfenstein,
and he posted a video of it as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, he posted a video of it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the notes, and I'm also going to watch it on mute.
Well done.
Yay!
Good on ya.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And finally here, David, what does John say?
John says, I'm not sure this counts, but I've developed unit plans for my high school art students where they play Gone Home while documenting their experiences and exploring the concept of environmental storytelling. For the final unit project, students make their own drawers of stuff that tell a story about themselves. I suppose that's more structure I built around a game rather than in one.
No, what a great idea.
That's
awesome.
You've enlisted a small army of environmental storytellers. That is very cool.
So what is the like how it's a murder of crows? What is it for a group of environmental storytellers?
A disposable of environmental storytellers.
There we go.
Referring to
that's really cool.
Precarious employment situation of people in the video game industry. No, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah,
that has the perfect element for adolescent or juvenile art projects, which is it appeals to their vanity. Hey, tell your story.
Well, here's the question. To grade it, do you allow them to present it, or does it have to be you just leave it and then the teacher peruses without context?
And figures out whose is whose.
Yeah, oh gosh, like a match. It's almost like a Guess Who kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I dig it. That is a very good idea. I don't know if it exactly matches the prompt, but I'm happy to know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not. You're all right this time, John.
Complete
You're
tangent.
Jeez.
But the one desire I really loved Gone Home. The one thing that I always sort of thought would be hilarious though was if you get through the whole thing and then there's the the final go up and use this go up to the attic with the very obvious keep out sign and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it would be kind of hilarious if you opened up the attic and there's the serial murderer. It's nope, actually is a horror game.
Oh,
and
see,
just had to get chased all through the house.
we were having this. That would be terrible because I don't want bad things to happen to those people.
Sure.
We were having this conversation on the Hex Crank channel, that was what I was afraid of in Gone Home, was that there would be something terrible up there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for writing in. We should do ours. And because my life has been consumed recently, or my my otherwise idle time when I should have been sleeping has been consumed by Stardew Valley. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say figuring out how to maximize that and also make it somewhat aesthetically pleasing has been a very worthwhile fun thing to do. And I'm rapidly approaching the point where I'm going to buy that golden clock. However, I just saw a news story today that they're adding more single player content along with the multiplayer co-op kind of side of things. So I have no idea. Also, I'm looking at this YouTube video of the Wolfenstein thing. Very good work, Willem. It's very obvious what it is. That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stardew Valley for me. Dennis, how about you?
This is going to be a deep cut, but I thought back to World of Goo and the crazy, rickety, how the hell is this actually holding together structures that you had to make to just basically solve any puzzle. It was a study in how far a bridge could wobble forward before actually collapsing. But I think it was so crazy because you were improvising on the fly. And I can't think of many games that have captured that kind of improvised construction as well.
Yeah, I don't mean to swoop in and tell you how to do your job, but I thought you were going to talk about Guitar Hero 5, the tracks you made.
Oh my God, yeah. I didn't even think about those as custom creations, but sure, that would have counted. I've probably still got those somewhere. Should pull that out sometime.
Yeah. At least record them, get them onto a tape, so they don't.
That's true. Now that I've got some streaming software, or some video capture software that could actually carry them forward. So yeah, why not? Yeah. And the reason why not is because 90% of them are halfway finished. I think there's one track that I actually saw through to the end, and the rest are just hooks that I liked that never got a full song.
Well, it'd be a shame if you lost them forever. So.
Oh sure.
Yeah. Cool. David, how about you?
Sure. So as much as I complained about this game, I think I've actually got 2 instances from Fortnite. One instance was in their Fortnite mode where you're a group of 4 people have to survive 2 weeks of basically during the day you forage and build forts, and during the night you have to defend them from monsters. And each day or night or whatever, they basically add an additional location that you have to defend, or you have to expand one of the existing ones. And so the end result is that by the end, your fort is just this massive ramshackle edifice where because each night you were, completely improvising on top of what you intended to build the night before. And so, for example, ours, a lot of people liked building using like all the ramp blocks to make to basically make sort of like pyramids type structures, because it's easy to like run around them and shoot at the guys. And so we basically end up with this massive like wandering like flattened sort of pyramid maze thing. I would say the other similar instance is in your home base. It's a similar thing where you have to play the same mission multiple times, but each time it adds a new defense point. And so what I did is over the course of this, each time I would build kind of the same general sort of like outpost, sort of watchtower type thing around this defense point. But then in between times, I started building like walls connecting them with walkways and ramparts along them and stuff like that. And so it was kind of a thing where individually they were all pretty basic and just kind of crappy, but like eventually I reached this point where I'd built this sort of like castle defense system around my land. It was cool seeing how things came together kind of organically.
So, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does that go away when you're done, or is it?
No. So that one part is persistent. So
okay.
that was kind of part of it. Is there's this thing where like each time I would build a new, basically say like once every 10 levels, you'd have to build a new like little mini base in it. And in between times, I'd be building like the walls that connect them and stuff like that.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Jala, how about you round us out?
Sure. Well, I posted some images in the Slack so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
This is ridiculous.
I would have to say, that my time in Besiege, where I made the weirdest contraptions, some of which were functional and others of which look cool, but were totally impractical. I would say that would be my answer to this question. I posted this to my Twitter, and Breyer said, I can just imagine you making a unicycle with multiple battering rams on top. Maximum siege, minimum engine. And it's like, yeah, because like every conceivable surface has like a flamethrower or a gun or a cannon or spikes or something. So
nice.
I see you subscribe to the Mad Max School of Engineering.
Yeah, where's the guitarist?
Yeah, pretty much.
I like the idea that you're
so
like pimping out a unicycle as much as you can without adding an extra wheel, because then it's a bicycle.
Well, it just kind of reminded me, if you go to YouTube and you look it up, it'll be like just type in unicycle Superman and you find like the ukulele Batman versus the unicycling Superman with a bagpipe that shoots flames.
Yeah.
So
and like his comment about having like a unicycle with a bunch of battering rams and stuff just reminded me about, Superman on a unicycle with a bagpipe that shoots flames. So
when I was in San Francisco, I worked for a time at a makerspace, and one of the guys that would come in, I think I've told this story, but he was a street performer where basically his thing is he had some of those like the Portal style like stilt walkie things, that strap on your legs.
Yeah, like almost like painter stilt kind of things.
Yeah. But the thing is, he had like under each foot, basically like the thing it was standing on was basically like a bellows. And then, had tubes going up to his bagpipe. So he'd be like, dancing around on these stilts, which is powering the bagpipe he's playing.
That sounds...
And like that was his routine.
I'm too annoyed by the unibagger, by the bagpiper who rides the unicycle up in Portland to really go all in on that. So I can't go on that ride with you, man. I'm sorry.
Cool.
Yeah. So I don't want that to get lost. You said it kind of quick. This is Besieged on PC. Is what you're made.
Yeah, this is Besieged, and I've mentioned this before because this was also my answer to, I think it was last week's question where we were talking about games that become like a time sink. Leave me alone with this thing and let me put like spikes and cannon and shit all some kind of crazy contraption. I will sit there for hours and just sit there and jack with it until I come up with something insane. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for writing in with this. If you want to participate in future ones, just watch our Facebook page on Tuesday afternoons. And that is at, facebook.com/The Level Podcast. I say it every week. I don't know why I had to search for it. Oh, well. The grind. Now it is time for The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. David, you were not here last time, so I will throw it to you first.
Sure. So I've been deep diving into Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, yeah. I remember you started that.
Yeah. So I just completed mission 31, which is I'm trying not to like too much spoiler. Is basically the first ending.
Well, it's at the end of like chapter 1 or so, right?
Right.
Like you're 31 out of like 51 story missions or something like that.
Yeah, although from what I can tell, I think like something like 10 of them are kind of like challenge modes, right?
Yeah, a lot of the chapter 2 missions end up being like harder or heightened versions of things you did in chapter 1.
Right. So actually, ironically enough, there's one of the first challenge modes after that I actually did do, and it's basically the subsistence mod. So it's they take off a bunch of the like help features, so like reflex mode where time slows down and you have a chance to kill an enemy before they spot you, things like that. And you also have like no support, nobody, and you go start the level with no items. And somehow that was the first and only mission so far that I was able to get through with the Foxhound rank, which is basically their like perfect stealth, perfect stealth, no one killed playthrough.
Yeah.
So apparently, for me to be good at the game, all you have to do is just like take away every tool possible, and I suddenly somehow become competent.
Yeah, it's like if Dumbo could only fly when he didn't have the feather.
Right, exactly. So other than that, like my approach is I have a policy that that everyone gets one tranquilizer, but only one.
I don't mean to call attention to the way you pronounce that, but I'm kind of going to. Tranquilizer sounds like a Dracula, but who only puts you to sleep when he bites you instead of turning into a vampire.
Tranquilizer.
Yeah, that's fine. You're doing good.
Anyways, yes, yeah. So, but only one, and after that point, if they wake back up, they better hope they have at least an A+ rating in one stat. Otherwise, they're getting grenade launched.
Oh yeah, and if they do have that, then you go balloon them. Yeah.
Yes. Which never stops being entertaining. I especially like the fact that you can balloon extract like tanks that are actively trying to kill you.
Yep. Bye.
So I just unlocked the wormhole extraction.
I don't know what that is.
So basically the final upgrade for the extraction is instead of I guess I should explain if people haven't played it. It's basically the whole like thing where you connect a weather balloon to someone, it floats up, and then a airplane or helicopter swoops by and like hooks onto it and basically drags them off into the air at very high and unexpected speeds.
It's the way you recruit new people for your mother base to help you do missions and build things up and all that. Like, all of them have different stats, and they are, let's say, onboarded by Revolver Ocelot.
Exactly. And however, the wormhole version is basically just this portal appears above them, and you just kind of suck them up into the portal.
Oh, wow.
So I'm assuming I can't quite tell to what degree that technology is supposed to be canon, because that's also, if you play the multiplayer mode, that's how they have you like get into and out of other players' bases.
Right.
So, but it's pretty ridiculous. The main difference of it is you can extract things that are indoors, and enemies can't shoot down your balloons.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm really enjoying it overall. Although I have to say, I have no idea what Skullface's plan actually was. Like, there.
Did you finish chapter 1? Like, did you get the whole monologue at the end?
Yes, there is like a 20-minute long monologue, and I have no idea what he was trying to tell me.
Yep, that sounds about right.
But yeah, I don't know. I like the playthrough overall. Quiet really entertains me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the game rightfully gets shit for her depiction, but she's a very good companion to take.
Yeah, I see. I have very mixed feelings about the depiction thing, because, like, on the one hand, like, I totally understand why. On the other hand, like, the specific way it's done is very entertaining and very endearing.
I mean, if you're down for the over the topness and the grossness doesn't go.
I know, like, it really entertains me, the like pseudo-scientific like explanations they try to give justifying it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, she totally breathes through her skin, and that's why she can't wear any clothes.
Yeah. No, it's up to
we had this.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We had this conversation about the booby ladies, and the booby lady conversation actually is one that a lot of people said that they were rather entertained by. So, like, go back to, what was it, 2015 when Ben played it, or whenever the hell it was that Ben played it, and Kole and I had that discussion.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, Ben and I both played it roughly around the time that it came out.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it would be like in September and October of 2015.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, and I want to say it was when Ben was talking about it on his grind. So yeah, like, continue about the booby lady.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, overall, it struck me as being pretty much within the realm of just being good fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand why people would see that differently.
Different people have different sensitivities. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, actually, if I recall correctly, it started out where, like, Kole, you were kind of like, yeah, I don't want to, like, shame people for their thing, but it's kind of, like, nasty to have a thing like that. And I'm like, if they want a booby lady, they can have the booby lady. It is okay. Just own it.
Yeah,
I think you have the booby lady. You know, you want one there because you want a boobies. That's fine, but just say it. You know, don't try to sit here and cover it up like, oh yeah. You're not trying to cover it up, so why are you trying to cover it up, you know?
Yeah.
Give it a break.
Yeah. But, like, other than that, like, that aspect of it, like, I do feel like, kind of the characterization, it's just, kind of an interesting, kind of entertaining character. Really, well, I say all of the buddies, by which I mean I basically use Quiet and D-Dog.
Oh, D-Dog's great too. Like,
yeah, and both of them, both in terms of, like, gameplay standpoint and just being, like, really kind of likable sidekicks are really good.
Yeah.
This is, again, probably going to be a taste thing, but it really, really entertains me. The fact that all of the like warning signs and stuff like that around the base are like chibi quiets and sometimes chibi what's his name, Huey's.
Yep.
So those both entertain me a great deal.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, it seems like the story is maybe not going to go this way, but I'm really pulling for the way I want it to end is that Huey didn't betray them and that no one betrayed them. Kaz is just super, super paranoid and, like, turns out when you're a mercenary, like, sometimes shitty stuff happens to you.
It's definitely not going to go that way.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't, but I still kind of feel like that in some ways would be like a more relevant ending. But
yeah.
Are
you going to continue going for chapter 2?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I was thinking a lot. Like, I think one of the things that sort of surprised me and that I've really enjoyed, I don't know if this will at all make sense, is, what I'd always heard is, the game sort of characterizing as being kind of like a Japanese take on Western action movies.
The series as a whole.
Although I would sort like in a way I'd say like that. I think that is a very fair way to characterize it. But I would almost say one of the things that's really been a pleasant surprise to me is I would say in some ways it's almost not so much like a Japanese take on Western action movies, so much as it is like if a Japanese person, someone from that culture view or whatever, like made a Western action movie, if that might make sense.
I mean, it's not like Kojima since forever has always wanted to just make movies and stuff. So right. Yeah, and that's a little bit what you're getting.
Yeah, and like I guess what I enjoy, or one of the things I particularly enjoy, is it's not so much homage or like, a parody or send up or something like that, so much as it is like a legitimate, like, 80s style action movie, just, because of, well, probably some of it, the cultural stuff, some of it just Kojima being really weird. Like, it's just different.
Yeah.
And there's just so many things, like, they're like the grammar the characters use sometimes is really, really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Just their whole tendency to be like, oh, and then this guy, he invented sniping. You mean like he developed the modern, technique of no, he invented the sniping. It's like, just like there's a bunch of like just instances where it's not so much that like the thing they're doing is just batshit insane, so much as it is like they're just doing it kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I know.
Is this the only Metal Gear game you've played?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What you said initially, this is an Eastern take on Western action stuff. That's definitely really present in the first handful. By the time 5 came around, they had really developed their own style and mythos. But like, you look at Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 specifically, and you see a shitload of like, oh, Kojima just really loves like Kurt Russell action movies.
Sure.
Stuff like that.
Which, I mean, don't we all?
I mean, it's Kojima likes good things. Yeah.
But Yeah. So really enjoy it. The gameplay overall enjoying a lot. The little mixed on some of the multiplayer mode, but
Yeah, I never really did a lot of that.
it's it's cool because it's you sneaking your way through someone else's mother base.
And most of them are the same. I mean, they're oil rigs.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really just like a really solid, like Metal Gear Solid environment.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with it is just, you still have to pay your loadout fees, and then also if you get killed or incapacitated, I guess technically, you then have to pay your loadout fees again as quote unquote ransom.
Right.
And then also, like, once you get killed, you get, kicked back to the your little command chopper thing and have to go in again. So there's too much it's too easy to, like, whereas in the first game, like, if you get spotted or things go bad, it's just like load up a checkpoint and try again, and there's enough cycle to kind of get good at and learn it and improve. There's just not too much time to really do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the consequences of failure are not long term in other games or in other versions of this. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I do have one I did have one story question, but it's slightly eluding me.
Well, if you think of it later. Good.
Is Ocelot supposed to be Russian?
It's complicated.
Okay.
I feel like that's the answer for every question about Metal Gear.
It's complicated. He is, but he's not.
Okay, because he definitely dresses like a cowboy.
And talks like a cowboy. I mean, his voice actor is Troy Baker.
Okay. And,
yeah.
like, isn't, like, I don't know, I feel like there's some weird characterization in that it seems like he's sometimes supposed to be a psychopath, but most of the time is kind of the voice of reason in this game.
Yeah, no, psychopath usually goes to Kaz in this situation. Yeah, no, he's like he is definitely sadistic, but only on an individual level. He is one of the more level-headed people, at least as of right now.
Okay.
At this point in the story, right?
Yeah, it does. I do have to say, ironically enough, probably the character I dislike the most is Snake.
Yeah.
Partially just because, like,
it's hard to like a character that doesn't talk.
Right, exactly, and I feel like it's a character that sort of should talk, or I don't know. I feel like there's a whole bunch of settings where it's like I really want some character to just be like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. That's stupid.
Yeah. Well, it harms, there are moments in the story where you're expected to have, like, pathos for Snake, and you're supposed to have, like, things are supposed to land with some kind of impact, but because he is such a cipher in this, that's a funny choice of words, because he is such a blank slate in this, it ends up kind of not having the punch you would hope. And
yeah,
at that point,
I wonder if part of that is why, like I've said, I've spent most of the time today talking about, like, how much I love, like, all of the secondary characters.
Right.
So that may be, like, all of the identification that should be on the character you're actually playing kind of goes to them.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You played anything else?
A little bit of Destiny. They had a second run of their faction event. People found a really, really cheap exploit that basically allowed you to complete it in like an hour or two, which was kind of funny. But I don't know, New Monarchy 1, it's pretty much just the grind.
Yeah. Are you just kind of settling into the rhythm?
Yeah, pretty much, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool.
I've got to do something while I'm waiting, 5 hours for my next platform to build.
I think they just want you to play more Metal Gear.
Yep.
Yeah. Jala, how about you? I know you've had some big stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited. So, first things first, I went back to and completed Steins Gate.
So many years later.
I did, yeah, right. I mean,
which is entirely appropriate.
The last time that I played this was in February, and I just set it down and I just didn't play it again for a long time. And the reason, to recap, for all those people who have started listening since then or forgot or didn't listen to those episodes, this is a game that Kole really liked and was wary of recommending.
This is a visual novel that Kole really liked.
Yes, but I played it anyway because it was on my list of stuff to check out. So when you talked about it, I became interested, and so I wanted to go ahead and play it anyway. And I had some trouble with it at first because it moves, you said the way you described it was glacially at first. And yeah, there's a character who is a perv and made all sorts of really gross comments and stuff. So I was not digging that because it was like the rest of the story was great, and then this one character would just like pop off or something. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up, you know? But anyway, you had said that it would speed up and that the perv guy would chill, and those things did happen. So I eventually ended up managing to get a couple of endings, but then I couldn't figure out what I needed to do to proceed with all the other endings. And so I just kind of like set it down for a long time.
Yeah.
And so when I began to play again this time, I used a spoiler-free fact just to be sure I was on the right path and I wouldn't get mad because I like the story a lot.
So to give a little bit of insight into this, this is kind of a regular visual novel style game. You know, there's not an awful lot of play. It branches at certain points, but mostly to give you like a particular character's ending. To get the true ending, you have to engage with the system where characters will send you text messages, and you have to respond to one particular person's messages with the right thing at the right time in order to get the true ending. To kind of like get her into a situation where everything will be right to make everything right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So there's no shame given those circumstances that you had to turn to a guide. I definitely did. I used a flowchart. So
yeah. So I ended up getting the rest of the bad endings at first, and then I couldn't figure out how to get the true ending, even though I gotten all the flags up until that point. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to set it down and pick it up the next day. And then I did. And I was like, well, maybe if I finish Kurisu's ending again, perhaps something else would, be different if I just kept rolling from there. And when I did, the second time, the true ending came up. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. And I didn't realize it was that long.
It's incredibly long.
It is very, very long. And so I was just like, okay, yeah, I can see this real quick before bed. And then I was up like way late. And I was like, okay, damn it. Because I didn't want to just like, I was at the good part. I'm like, okay, this is the ending. Okay, the ending. But anyway, it was a good way to finish out the story. And overall, I really loved the game. I cried at several points in the story, and I became attached to most of the characters except for Moeka and Nai, who are both creepy, and including ones that I didn't think I'd like, Mayuri and Daru and Faris. I just did not think I would like any of them, but actually they became tolerable, and then they became like okay. I mean, I can't say I love them, but they're all right.
Yeah.
I really want to play Steins Gate 0, but by the same token, I know that too much at one time is going to burn me out, and I don't want that to happen. So I'll play something else for a while before I loop back around and continue with the next game. I'm hoping that when I get back to Persona 4 Golden, I have a similar response, but I don't think I'm quite ready to return to that yet because I also finished. Let's roll into that. Also finished. Dun dun dun. Final Fantasy Tactics: War of the Lions. I finished it.
Wow.
It took me 6 months. I seriously, I think I started playing this game in like June, maybe. It's 6 months, almost 6 months of playing. Maybe it was a little earlier than that. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah. It's a shame that the story picked up pace when I was already burned out. I tried taking breaks from playing this game, and that is why it took me that long. It was like 5 months to beat it. But the thing is that I never got excited to get back into it like I did with Steins Gate, where I was like, I really want to go back and finish that game. I never felt that way about this game. Breaks just meant that it was harder for me to get back into it because, like, and that's not like a function of, oh, this game sucks. It's more a function of it's a JRPG. And like whenever I set a JRPG down, I don't really feel like an exciting urge to go back to it. Like, right. It's the type of game and my response to it. It is not a fault of the game itself. But anyway, near the end of the game, it seems like almost all of Chapter 4, the battles are super imbalanced to where they essentially boil down to who has better equipment and can biff the other guy for the one-hit kill.
Mm-hmm.
And ending the game that OP, for me at least, made me feel like I didn't have much of a sense of accomplishment. And the gameplay was significantly less satisfying. Like I remember talking about in the beginning when I was fighting and I was like, man, and then I had this one little black mage guy left, and if anything hit him, he was going to die. And then I managed to kill him right before the other, like that was exciting to me. Whereas this is just like, okay, who has better equipment? Who goes first? They win. Like, okay, well, it's not so great to me. The battle against the first Orsite Fiend guy was really tough, and I had to redo that several times, but I was excited because it was a challenge, right? And it kept me playing it in the same sitting until I got it. And there were other battles like that, like I said, with the mage battle, that battle when the one little black mage guy was the only guy left and things like that. It just made me excited to play those particular battles. Yeah. But in the end game, I beat a few fights before any of the enemies had a chance to move. And like, that's lame. That is lame. I'm sorry. That's lame.
No.
Maybe, there are people who really like that kind of like, yeah, now I'm so overpowered I can totally beat ass. Well,
no.
It's not me.
Beat
ass. I get bored. So, the thing is, you also lose a sense of discovery after a while because you try all the classes, as best you can anyway, and then you get all excited about unlocking the new skills to see what they do. But after you've seen enough of them, you're treading water. You're trying to catch up one character to another character that already has that ability or something, and so like that kind of gets less exciting after a while. Where I'm like, oh, a new class. It's kind of late in the game. I don't feel like grinding this character.
Yeah,
and they're gonna, compared to these other guys that I know what they can do, this character is not gonna get anywhere anytime soon. They're just gonna fall out of use or just stay the class that they were. And it's not really all that exciting, unfortunately. I was talking to Michael Pren about grinding, and I figured out what my deal is. I'm so excited that I know what my problem is with it.
I want to hear this. I like self-discovery.
Yes, I was very excited. He said, if there's a cool enough carrot to chase, I'm down with it. And it reminded me of what Ben was saying about RTS games on episode 219, like last episode. On that episode, I said that in open world games, when I wander off and I give myself some task to do, the battles that I come across don't feel like grinding either. So essentially the difference between grinding, which is bad, and just playing the game to unlock or finish content, which is okay, to me is just really just like the interest level that I've got. Thing is, I'm not interested in ticking off another level on my dudes, or like in Final Fantasy Tactics, grinding battle after battle to baby a character until they unlock a skill that I want them to have.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like 2 or 3 battles to unlock them. If it's 2 or 3 battles, then I might do it, but like not if it's like, okay, I have to have how many job points for this?
You want it when? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, in this game on the initial playthrough, I wanted a through line to the main story. None of the side story crap or hunting down extra characters or going out of my way to unlock stuff. No, I just wanted to see the main ideas that the game presents and how the battles go and just see that content on the initial stuff. So on a subsequent playthrough, I wouldn't have the strong interest to see the main story to completion because I would have already done that. So all the side quests and unlockables would be more interesting on the second time through, and it would take less time overall because I know how to play, so I wouldn't put all my points into random skills. I would know which skills I like better, and then I would start playing other classes and stuff. So like really this game for me is engineered really more towards a second playthrough than it is, an initial playthrough. Like my interest level on this first playthrough went in and out. There were times where I was excited about it, and then there were times where I just totally wanted to throw something, and I don't think I would suffer that same problem if I went, if I was going on a replay.
Right.
So, but yeah. So I was so mad at the ending.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a better feeling than feeling nothing, because that means that it elicited a response, which means the story eventually grew on me, even though I was like lukewarm on it for like 2/3 of the game.
I don't want to like be the guy who says, well, actually, like they tell you what's going to happen at the very beginning. Like this is presented at like the framing devices, like everything that you're seeing is a historical footnote that nobody knows because nobody ever wanted anything to get out about it.
Oh, I know. But you also have to remember that when I started this game was 5 months ago.
Oh yeah.
Number one, I've slept since then. Number two, I've had a lot of shit going on in my life.
Right.
I am not thinking about that intro. But of course, like when I finished the game, yeah, I remember the intro, but that's not the point. Even if you know that it's coming, when you actually see it presented to you, that's a very different thing. And then you're just like, bitch! Like just get...
Yeah.
So,
there's no justice in Ivalice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of questions, and Vivian and David Petrocco and Kyle and Maurice all helped answer them as best they could.
Yeah, they will be far better guides to that than I would.
Yeah, so like I had so many questions, and like people can see on my Twitter and my Facebook where I was talking about that. But yeah, I was very upset about Oron. I was very upset because Delita is a shit.
Yeah.
And like I mean I've hated Delita since the beginning, so that's not exciting or anything. Like I never liked him. But although there is, or at least was, apparently a lot of talk about whether or not Ramza and the rest actually died, apparently Matsuno had confirmed on Twitter a while back that they are canonically not dead. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then there are a bunch of questions that leave the ending looking like a heap of nonsense, which is so shitty. Like they shouldn't have put the scene where it's like, they have the animation showing, Ramza and Alma wandering off, and they shouldn't have done that. And they shouldn't have said on Twitter that it is canonically not dead, because if their appearance in the graveyard was just like a figment of Oron's imagination, that would have made Oron 100 million times even more interesting to me overall. Like I want a game about Oron. Like I don't even care about these other people. But anyway, like how could they have even gotten out of the Necro Hall when you needed a gate, which the dude destroyed? And where did the Orsite even fucking go? And the other party members like Mustidio and Egrius, and apparently the Orsite shows up in 12, but how if it was in the Necro Hall lost forever? Like it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Nonsense. Yeah. I was so bad. I was like flipping tables all over the place.
I don't remember enough of the details about the ending, about that last chapter to be able to address any of this for you.
No, like this is just me kind of like spewing rhetoric, although I'm much calmer now than I was at the time. Like, man, I was so mad. Yeah. So mad. But yeah, so the thing is, here's the kicker. On the whole, I still think that I end up on the side of liking this game. Partially because I know that if I go back and ever play it again, it will be a smoother and more enjoyable experience than this first one, because the game has a sharp learning curve. It's really slow to start. It has a lot of fiddly bits for you to play with and learn about and fine tune and all that crap.
Fiddly bits.
Yeah, I know. That's a word I use multiple times. I've said that many times.
No, I know. I was laughing because it's a thing.
Ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, all of these things become easier on a subsequent playthrough, and then the little story tidbits will probably be more interesting and engaging upon a second playthrough than they are right now. Because like the first 2/3 of the game, I don't really care. I started to kind of care at the end of the game. So going back and playing the beginning of the game again would be a different experience, you know? So whichever. But yeah, like the ending third of the game where the story picks up is unfortunately also where you become so OP that the game is just, you know, that one-shot thing. And I don't feel challenged enough, so it's not interesting to me. So that next playthrough, if I know that eventually I will play this game again, but it's going to be a long time from now.
Right.
So,
Just like with Steins Gate, you got to give yourself some cooldown time. That's why I was kind of curious when you said that you were going to go and play Persona, because like I would think this would wear down that tactics would wear down the tolerance for what Persona would put you through.
And that is precisely the reason why I want to give myself a little bit more time before I go and play Persona. I do want to continue Persona because there were some, mechanics in that game that were interesting to me. It's just the grinding that is going to make me flip a table, and I need to take a break from it for a while before I go back to it. So, I will play other games. I've got other games I'm in the middle of. I'm in the middle of In Verbis Virtus, Resident Evil 7, Mages of Mistralia, which I never actually talked about on this show, but you can go back and listen to Dark Insight sometime in the summer. I was on that show, and I was talking about it there. And several other games. Like I never finished Shovel Knight. I still have Shovel Knight to play.
But
the problem is that Shovel Knight, I would totally play it if it was on my Vita, but it's not on my Vita. It's on Steam, and so like I would have finished it by now if it was on my Vita.
True that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like damn it, everything needs to be portable. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you ended up not regretting all of the time that you spent with Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, there's like Steins Gate is a good example of it, where there are times where something will hit me wrong when I'm first playing it, and I'm super skeptical, and I'm just like, I am not gripped by anything that I am seeing right now, and I continue playing it, and as I play it, things happen, and then it ends up opening up and becoming better for me, like a better experience overall for me. And I knew that was going to happen with Tactics, and that is why I kept on playing it, even though I had to set it down, I had to take a long time, whatever. Like I knew that was going to be the end result. Steins Gate, I had a feeling it was going to be the end result. Not everything is Danganronpa, although I have to say, Kole, when I was going through all of my memory cards on my Vita the other day, I found, to my surprise and chagrin, and I don't know what other words we can use for this, that without my recalling ever having purchased it, Danganronpa 2 is on one of my memory cards. So...
Yeah, I saw you post about that. Jala, as a favor to me, don't do that to yourself. Like Go ahead.
The only reason that, like, the time that I crack that open and start playing it, it will be for the listeners, because so many of them are just like avidly waiting for me to flip a table about something.
Right. You don't have to. I mean, if people clapped every time you hurt yourself, you don't have to hurt yourself just for their. You can be your own person.
Oh, no. Here's the thing. Like, remember when I was playing the original game, although I got mad at it, especially at the end of it, like, for a large portion of it, I was just, like, laughing about it. And I was still playing it because there were elements about it that I liked enough to keep playing it. The ending is really what made me mad in that game, more than anything else. Like, the tropes were irritating. And the method by which the game plays out is fine. And there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. It was the ending that made me just totally flip a table and get rage worthy. I was so pissed at the ending. Yeah. So that was kind of me after Final Fantasy Tactics, but then I settled down and I asked questions and people answered. It was fine.
Yeah. The things that you good.
there was no redeeming the end of Danganronpa. That was a stupid cop out. It made me so mad.
And I don't know if you had run into the same thing. Like the ending of Danganronpa 2 is definitely, I mean, I think Dennis can back me up on this, but it's definitely remarkable. But I don't know if it would trigger the same the same kind of instinct for you. And I need to speak about it in vague terms because I really enjoy it, and I don't want to like take that wind out of anybody's sails. You know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, Danganronpa was not the one that made me actually want to throw my Vita was VLR.
Okay.
That one made me want to throw my Vita across the room. Danganronpa, I got mad at it, and I turned it off, and I'm like, that was so fucking stupid. I was so mad. But like, that's just because it copped out into a lot of stereotypical nonsense that I had already seen a million times. And it had potential to do a lot more than it ended up doing. And I think I even said that at the time as one of my critiques of the game is just it has way more potential than what the actual manifestation is. And that's the thing just irks me about that game.
Yeah. And like Danganronpa 2, I think has the potential to be the something more. But in order to get there, like it takes a lot of the stuff about DR1 and just like turns the volume knob until it breaks it. Dennis, am I wrong about that? Like,
no, I think you're right on that. And I also think though that the ending to Danganronpa 2 is a little bit more definitive.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, it was satisfying. Like I didn't have as many unanswered questions at the end of 2 as I did at the end of 1. Now I still had plenty of unanswered questions, but.
Right.
It's not even about the unanswered questions at the end of 1. The thing that made me so mad was like this whole like shonen power of love bullshit that they pull at the end of that is totally discordant with the rest of the game, and it made me so mad. I was just like, this is bullshit. It made me mad. So that's the thing that pissed me off more than anything. It just fell into tropes so often that like I was hoping that maybe they would use the tropes and then turn them on their head. I was and that's the thing. I was expecting it to do that sometime and then just like give me something completely awesome at the end that was different than what I was, what would be par for the course. And unfortunately, what I ended up with was some power friendship bullshit like from a shonen anime series, and I'm just like
and I could tell you what they do with that, but that would involve going into way too much detail, and I don't want Ben's head to explode on his birthday without knowing why.
Right. No, so what I'm trying to explain with that is that I would not be adverse to playing Danganronpa 2 and seeing what happens with it, even though, like it's kind of like I finished through VLR, and then even at the end of VLR, even though I wanted to throw my Vita, I'm like, I still kind of want to see what the hell happens in the story. I'm not as interested in the story in Danganronpa. However, the gameplay is more interesting. I had a gripe about the way the gameplay worked in VLR, and that was the largest portion of my anger with that game.
Yeah.
Was the mechanics of it. In Danganronpa, I like the mechanics. I don't really care about the story either way. I'm more interested in the story in the Zero Escape series.
Yeah.
And I have no fucking clue what's happening in that series, like at all. But that is like, whatever. So yeah, like I will probably eventually play that. It's not going to be right away. So the people avidly waiting for me to flip a table on you again will have to wait a little while.
Understand, you wouldn't be flipping a table on me because I told you not to play it.
Yeah, I did not to play it because you remember the last time. So yeah, for sure. But I did want to, definitely bring it around and make it a point to say, see these things that I had complaints about, and I stubbornly kept playing anyway. I wasn't playing them just so I could complain, like there legitimately were reasons why I was playing them, and just because a game hits me wrong at first doesn't necessarily mean it's kind of like Resident Evil 7, maybe one of those cases where as I play more of it, I get into it and I'm like, okay, that first part was rough, but now I'm kind of cool. So,
might be the case.
Like exactly. So that's all I got to say about that.
Cool. We should probably move. Dennis, I want to hear what you've been playing.
Yeah, I'll help get us back on track because I don't have anything huge new to report, but I've hit milestones in a bunch of games that I've been playing, so I can run through those real quick. It struck me as Jala was talking about the idea of like, okay, who moves first and who has better equipment, they win. I've hit a similar point in XCOM 2, but I think to very different effect. Like I've finally gotten my soldiers, or at least some of my soldiers, leveled up enough that they can kind of be those gods on the battlefield, that they can get the drop on people and do some pretty incredible things. But that's always with the caveat that there's that 25% chance that they miss and just get killed if I put them in too vulnerable of a position. So it's like, yeah, my guy's a god who can jump to any point in the map and take 6 shots at enemies from a flanking position. But if each of those shots has a 10% miss chance, suddenly it starts getting really scary because, if even one guy survives and is able to put a solid hit on the guy, I've just downed one of my best soldiers for hubris, right? But that said, the major milestone that I've hit is I have defeated all 3 Chosen, which are like the major additions to this expansion pack, the enemy super soldiers that kind of hunt you throughout all your missions. So it felt like a major accomplishment. It was kind of fun to compare and contrast my mission taking down the first, where it was like unknown territory. I had no idea what I was doing. I was barely scraping by and craziness like that, with the last one where I had a team of killing machines who had been down this road before and kind of was taking the fight to them. So that felt really, really good. There is also, now that I'm probably 40 hours in, let me check real quick. It's going to be an insane number.
While you're
60.
doing that. 60. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
60. I would say 100 million.
Yeah. Probably on the game in total, yes. But for this specific playthrough, which is an Iron Man playthrough, or no, I guess it's more like 50. So I'm 50 hours in on this Iron Man playthrough.
You just negotiated with yourself.
Yeah.
40, 60, 50. All right, deal.
What am I willing to admit versus rationalize away? But there is a unique sense of dread and adrenaline when you jump into a mission on Iron Man when you've put 50 hours into the campaign.
Right, because all of that could go down the toilet.
Yeah, even if you've done everything right up to that point, one stupid decision can just set you so far back.
Just one bad break. Like, it doesn't have to be all on you either.
Yeah, like it could be a 2% miss chance that doesn't hit, So that is a unique experience. It's a very exciting experience that you can only get after kind of investing this amount of time into the game. That said, I've talked previously about how some of the other mechanics that were added with War of the Chosen encourage you to kind of build a more well-rounded squad of soldiers versus just having your like 6 super soldiers that you rely on for everything. So I think even if I did completely squad wipe at this point, I would probably be able to come back. So I'm feeling like I've reached that tipping point, which is good.
So they encourage you to set goals for your squad.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Okay.
So the other game that I reached a major milestone in was Destiny 2, where I finally completed the raid for the first time.
Oh yeah, I saw you put out a call for folks last night. Was it?
It's tough to get 6 people together for 2.5 hours or however long.
Yeah.
But my God, is it rewarding? Like, and again, I've talked about before. This is my only experience with raiding, but it was awesome. So it was me and Video Dragon and Argyle from the Slack, but Argyle's in a different clan, and there was all this other stuff. So we needed to find 3 random people. We wound up using it's a service called the 100. I think it's a site to find people, and then Destiny 2 actually has a companion app that has a pretty robust like find people to play with thing to it. So it's not quite automatic online matchmaking, and I'm okay with that. Like, it took a bit of effort to find people to play with versus just hitting a button and waiting for people to queue in. But that guaranteed the people that you're playing with really want to be there because they had to invest some effort to find us as well. And I think that meant that we got high quality people who were using their mics and were committed for the whole time. And for at least a couple of them, just like me, it was their first time completing the raid. And I had people, again, these just randos that I found being like, hey, if you're ever on again, we're friends now. Just, send me an invite. We'll play. So it was a real bonding experience. So I'm very proud of that. It was a lot of fun. I captured video of the final boss fight.
Oh, cool.
The Callus fight, and put that on YouTube. So if anyone wants to see us stumble through that final fight, you can.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that was awesome. I mentioned last week very briefly that I was playing Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Wii to see if the kiddos were at all interested in being star catchers. They were not, but they are interested in watching. So we've continued playing Super Mario Galaxy 2. That's been a lot of fun. Although it definitely is one of those things where just 3D platformers show their age rather quickly, I think. Oh. And I would be very interested to try Super Mario Odyssey after playing this, just to see if they've smoothed out the controls. Is a very vague way of saying it. I think it's operating in 3D space, and then with Super Mario Galaxy, where you're operating oftentimes on very small planetoids where the gravity is changing. It makes it feel more imprecise than I would like. At the same time, though, I think they design the levels knowing that you're kind of working around a certain amount of impreciseness.
Yeah.
And it, so that it doesn't hamper you. It's just you kind of have to. You're guiding Mario in a direction versus specifically controlling him. It feels like a lot of the time. I don't know how that jives with Odyssey.
Yeah. There's a little bit more precision in Odyssey, and I think that's a result of you controlling the camera directly, and also not doing as much with I haven't run into like planetoid stuff. There could be an entire kingdom that is like that, but yeah. And I think that might be exacerbated in Galaxy 2 because Galaxy 2 is like the hard mode of Galaxy 1. They don't really fuck around that much by like extending you a lot of grace into.
Yeah, they definitely lean into the challenge. That said, it's still an incredibly fun game with lots of charm. And I'm enjoying it.
Cool.
Let's see. I think that's basically it. I started playing Ether 1. It's like a walking simulator / puzzle game, but I haven't really gotten far enough to comment on it yet.
Yeah, that looks really interesting. It's like you're inside somebody's mind trying to solve their problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the one thought it's given me is I really appreciate games like Machinarium or The Witness, where they still have some of that, in the case of The Witness, walking simulator elements to them, but the puzzles are very defined and explicit. Whereas in Ether 1, at least to this point, the puzzles get no more complicated than like find the right number to put on this combination. Right. It's a lot of environmental storytelling. And kind of figuring out the right way forward. But that means that I spent probably, 10 minutes more than I should have in a room trying to figure out like the trick or the secret, when really it was, nope, you've seen everything, walk out of the room.
Yeah.
And that was, I felt like I wasted time. Whereas I don't think I've ever felt like I've wasted time in The Witness, because I'm always working against something concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this is already a pretty long episode, and I want to put it to you guys. I only have one thing to talk about. It's pretty late. Do you want me to like skip it and talk about it next week, or are you cool like having another 10 minutes put on?
No, I want to hear from you.
Talk,
David.
Sure.
Okay. I have one game that I've been playing, and I've been streaming it as well, so you can watch that and hear reactions to individual things that go on. But I think I mentioned I was going to talk about this week. I've been playing for Hexcrank Live a game called Lisa the Painful.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa : the Painful. The Painful is the subtitle for this. This is a side-scrolling RPG that is one of the most singularly unpleasant games that I've played in a very long time.
Okay.
But it's also ridiculously funny, but there are a number of caveats kind of put on top of that. So this is an indie game. I think it came out in like 2015. It's like the kickstarted bigger sequel to another game called Lisa the First. You're playing as this guy, this martial arts master named Brad. And it's after the world has ended in this cataclysm that not only killed most of the population, but wiped out all the women. And Brad, who comes from his own kind of, really kind of fucked up background, ends up finding this infant child, this infant girl, and starts raising her as, his own daughter, with his group of friends, recognizing that she may be the last hope for mankind, for all of life. Well, meanwhile, in the, 10 or 15 years that the entire game, that the intro takes place over, everything has gone to shit, Mad Max style, with horrible gangs and terrible degradation and things. Now, this is not a game I'd recommend anybody play if they have problems with depictions of things like domestic violence or child abuse or drug abuse or, let's say, sexual degradation or kind of weird subversions of gender roles, because it's pretty upfront and frank about what the consequences of a male-only society would be. And it plays them, to a certain degree for laughs. Like, there are just like laugh out loud moments where like I had no idea what to do with myself. But the reason this is on Hexcrank, and this was demanded or requested last year during Duckstream by a donor, somebody in our community goes by the name of E, saying like, yeah, this is, this may be like way too depressing. If you want to skip it, you can. Discomfort is a huge part of horror, and I think that this does an amazing job, especially at the psychological aspect of this, because your main character is addicted to this drug called joy, that has kind of caused him to have these hallucinations and things, and kind of have his own troubled past follow him around. And also, like, there are things the story forces you to do that are very obviously the results of your main character's mind pushing him toward this particular kind of behavior because of this particular kind of dependence that he has. From the play perspective, like I said, this is an RPG. You're playing it from a side perspective, so you're doing a little bit of like navigation, not so much jumping, but you got a bike that'll let you jump over like 1 block gaps and things like that. All the fights take place. It's, this entire game has like a real homage to Earthbound kind of feel to it, or the Mother series. And they take place from first person perspective, and you have your party's made up of all these little people that you've either paid or recruited or forced into your service to fight for you. It's a really interesting JRPG or turn-based RPG in that sense. It's not really Japanese, but turn-based, because most of the fights that you do are boss fights. Almost all of them are really consequential in that they're very difficult. And as you go on, certain enemies have moves that will perma-kill your party members.
Oh boy.
And you just have to like bring somebody new in. And they offset that by just having a shitload of party members that you can recruit, all of which play substantially differently.
Do you have to like build them up at all?
Not really. There's not really like a real sense of, oh no, I have to bring somebody up from like level 5. There may be some like passive experience gain that you get on the back of, like as your main character levels up, so everybody else does. But yeah, you end up kind of churning through characters, and the game, at multiple points will say, all right, do you want to lose this party member? I will kill this party member, or I will cut off one of your arms. Ooh. Which, because your main character has this kind of, he's a martial artist, he has this combo based kind of thing. Well, you lose the ability to do combos that require that arm. So your vocabulary goes down the toilet as you make these choices. To the point where, like, if you lose both of your arms, you end up only being able to do bite attacks. Stuff like that. Like I said,
but you're surrounded by people who are really appreciative of you.
True, yeah. So if you watch the stream, there are multiple points where I lose my shit laughing at this because it has amazing timing. It's a couple years old, so I don't mind spoiling too much. But there's one particular moment where you walk in and you find this guy who's kind of taking care of these kids. Like, you got all these kids on the screen, and first off, you have a couple of dialogue options. He's like, "Hey, what are you here for?" One of your answers could be, "Oh, I'm looking for a kid." Like, "Oh, I'm looking for my daughter," but like, "Oh, I'm looking for a kid." He freaks out and says like, "Oh, well, I'm going to fight you because you're here coming after it." If you say, "Oh, nothing," he tells you, "Oh, I'm running an orphanage. I'm really taking care of these kids." As he's talking to you, these little kids, they start playing with matches. And one of them lights the grass on. One of them lights the grass on fire. And as you approach this whole situation, you see this little, you see something on the ground. You examine it, thinking it's an item you can pick up. It says, "Oh, this is a bucket." And like, "Oh my gosh, we got to put that out. Hey, grab that bucket." Put it out. So you run and grab the bucket that you could grab onto, and the second that you examine it, you fling what's in the bucket on the kids. Turns out it's gasoline, and they all burn to a crisp.
Oh, no!
It's like, wait a minute, what the fuck were you doing? I was putting that bucket up there. Like, there's a huge bucket.
My gosh.
On the top. Like, oh no. And it turns out, yeah, you by even interacting with this guy, you doomed all of these kids to a terrible death. So it's pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to finish it up this coming weekend is my hope. Finish it up before Thanksgiving. I'm happy to.
Yeah,
have
sounds
it.
like it might not be the greatest Thanksgiving game ever. Just around the family.
The greatest thing to carry forward into the holiday times. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very neat. It started, streaming this has started other people to playing it, or at least talking about it, or weighing the merits of like, hey, all of this horrible stuff, is it worth depicting it in a game? Does this treat it with too much lightness, or what can I do? Is this way too much for you or me personally? And again, a certain measure of a game is how long does it stick with you after you play it. It's probably going to stick with me for a little bit at the very least, and so I think it's pretty noteworthy, at least for that. Let's say. Any questions or comments about that which I have described?
Just say, knowing that you don't know the ending yet, do you have any sense for how this game is going to wrap things up? Like, are you worried it's going to try to like put a pretty bow and make everything better at the end, or do you trust it to kind of stay dark?
I have absolutely no hope or inkling that they will try to redeem any person involved in the story based on what I have seen so far. I don't think they're going to try and happily ever after this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Jala, you tuned in and watched a little bit of this. Do you have anything to say?
Nope. I was just tuning in and watching and, listening to you busting your ass laughing about whatever happened to be funny at the time.
Whatever terrible thing happened.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all. I'd like to say that I played more Super Mario Odyssey, but my life has been consumed by The Witcher 3 when I have not been streaming. And I'm going to talk about that on WAF. So,
yep.
Womp. Yeah. Well, do you
Not
all
womp, waff.
do you want to button it up?
Buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much, everybody. What was that, David?
Toggles.
No, don't.
No.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to level number 220. We really appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, not going to be doing a show next week because I'm going to be out of town. And gosh, Thanksgiving is right upon us. Yeah, but you can listen to Jala on the Dark Insight podcast. Do you have any anything you're going to take to that? Is there any order of business that people can they can tease people with?
No, because I don't know what I'm going to be playing for that yet. We'll see. I'll make it something special that I'm not going to be talking about on the level, so you'll only be able to hear it there.
Cool. Yeah, but you know the usual stuff here. If you want to leave us a rating or review, I'd really appreciate it. That can be done on iTunes or Google Play, any of those places where you get your podcast. That helps raise the profile of the show. Otherwise, have a safe holiday if you're going to be traveling, and please join us next week and maybe bring a friend. Yeah.
If you can't have a safe holiday, have an exciting holiday.
Also, happy birthday, Kole.
Oh, thank you.
Early.
Yeah. My
Next week.
My birthday is on Monday. I'm going to be turning 30 years old.
30. Yep.
30.
And Ben is turning 60 today.
Doesn't look a day older. So anyway, thank you so much. I've been Kole Ross. You can find me at Duckfeed.tv on Twitch.
Yeah, I've been Dennis Furia. I'm at Green Laser 73 on Twitch.
I'm David Mysmith, and you cannot find me, for I am a ninja.
I like that. I'm Jala-chan in places.
Yep. And stick around for some titles.
Title. Who's got the title?
Yeah. Who has titles?
I have
Jala.
a few. Yeah. Who vigils the Lantes?
I had that. I also had Who Laws the Outlaws.
Okay.
I also have The Rug Really Ties the Hellmouth Together.
Okay.
I also have That Ship is Made Out of Gummy.
Okay.
And then Negotiate with Yourself.
It's also pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
So, I also had James Whiteson, Fantasy Man Woman Lizard, and
That was for Sam.
Leave Me Alone and Let Me Add Spikes.
Okay. Dennis?
So I had Who Vigils the Lantes. I had WBWD,
Okay.
and what Batman would do. And then I had The Corn Outlaw.
Okay. I just had Corn Master for that. Anything else?
No, those are the ones.
Okay. I had Corn Master and I had goals for your squad. I mean, by votes, we had 3 for Who Vigils the Lantes. Should I put an apostrophe in front of Lantes?
Yeah, I think so.
I know not of such grammatical things.
Jolly, you sounded uncertain.
No, that was like I don't really care. It's fine.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. Okay. Who Vigils the Lantes it is.
Sweet.
All right. Well,
Fair enough.
I'm going to go.
Hey, have a happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Yes. Same to you.
Yeah,
And same to
holy
everybody.
crap, it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Be happy
Peace.
and
Bye.
safe and things.
Yes, you too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sleep well.
bye.
Bye.
Night.
Peace.